He left me for someone half my age. One day, I was his loving wife. The next, I was discarded like yesterday's news. The worst part? He didn't even have the decency to tell me to my face. I found out through a receipt, a fancy hotel, a candlelit dinner, a bottle of champagne, and a room booked for 2. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a business dinner. Maybe a surprise for me. But deep down, I already knew the truth. My hands trembled as I held the evidence, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. When I confronted him, he didn't even deny it. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and with the coldest expression I had ever seen, he said, "She makes me feel young again." Just like that, years of marriage meant nothing. The man who once promised to love me forever, through sickness, health, and everything in between, was gone. And in his place stood a stranger who looked at me as if I were just in the way. I was shattered, humiliated, left alone to pick up the pieces of a life I no longer recognized. I had given him everything, supported his dreams, built a life with him, sacrificed so much, only to be tossed aside for someone younger, prettier, more exciting. While he was off living his fantasy, I was drowning in bills, heartache, and the brutal reality of starting over. People whispered. Friends pitied me. Even my own reflections seemed to mock me. But here's the thing about rock bottom. There's only one way to go from there. I had 2 choices: stay broken or rise from the ashes. What happened next? He never saw it coming, and neither did I. I wasn't always the woman who could stare betrayal in the face and smile. Before my world crumbled, I was just a woman who believed in love, in forever, in the power of standing by your partner through thick and thin. I met Daniel in college. He was charming in that effortless way, smooth talking, confident, the kind of man who made you feel like you were the only person in the room. And I was completely swept away. We had dreams back then, big ones. I wanted to start my own business, a boutique, maybe a small design firm. He wanted to climb the corporate ladder, build a legacy. We talked about success like it was something we were destined for, something we'd achieve together. But life had other plans. Marriage came first, then responsibilities. My dreams took a back seat to his. While he worked late nights, chasing promotions and bonuses, I made our house a home. I cooked his favorite meals, planned surprise dates, supported him through every setback. I didn't resent it, at least, not at first. I told myself it was love. Then the cracks started to show. At first they were small, a missed dinner here, a forgotten anniversary there. Work's been crazy, he'd say. You know how it is. And I did. I understood stress, long hours, ambition. So I let it slide. But then came the unexplained phone calls, the messages he quickly deleted, the sudden change in cologne, the gym memberships, the business trips that seemed more frequent than ever. I wasn't naive. I saw the signs. One night, I confronted him, not with accusations, just concern. I asked if he was happy, if there was something we needed to talk about. He laughed, actually laughed. "You overthink too much," he said, pressing a kiss to my forehead, like I was a child needing reassurance. Everything's fine, but it wasn't. The distance between us grew wider, the silence heavier. I felt like a ghost in my own marriage, a bystander watching my husband slip away. And then came the receipt. It was tucked inside his jacket pocket, a careless mistake, a single piece of paper that confirmed what my heart already knew but my mind refused to accept. The name of the hotel, the expensive dinner, the suite. When I held it in my hands, my whole body went cold. I could have ignored it, pretended I never saw it, But something inside me, something I didn't recognize yet, snapped. That night I waited for him. I made his favorite meal, poured his favorite wine, and when he walked through the door, looking relaxed, oblivious, happy, I placed the receipt on the table between us. For the first time in months, he actually looked surprised. At that moment, I thought he'd deny it, apologize, make an excuse. But no, he only sighed, rubbed his temples, and said those 7 words that would haunt me forever. She makes me feel young again. Not sorry, not ashamed, just inconvenienced. As if I were the problem, as if I had aged out of my role as his wife. I felt a rage I had never known before, a fire that burned away every last trace of love, every ounce of devotion I had ever given him. Still, I held my composure. I refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. Instead, I asked, "So what happens now?" His answer? A shrug. "We can work something out," he said, as if I were a business transaction instead of his wife. "I'll help you financially until you get on your feet." On my feet. I had spent years supporting him, building his world, and now he was offering me scraps from the empire I helped him create. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I simply said, "No, thank you." And that was the beginning of something neither of us saw coming. I didn't just survive without him. I thrived. But he wouldn't know that yet, because first, I had to hit rock bottom before I could rise. I thought the worst had already happened. Finding out about the affair, hearing him say those gut-wrenching words, "She makes me feel young again." I assumed that was rock bottom. That was the moment I lost everything. But I was wrong. The real betrayal came later, in a way I never saw coming. It happened 2 weeks after he walked out. The house was eerily quiet without him. At night, I'd still turn to his side of the bed out of habit, only to find it cold and empty. The loneliness was suffocating, but I told myself I'd get through it. I had no choice. One morning, I went to pay the bills. Electricity, mortgage, insurance. Just like I always did. But when I logged into our joint bank account, I felt my stomach drop. The balance was 0. At first I thought it was a glitch, a mistake. Maybe I had entered the wrong details. My hands shook as I refreshed the page. But the numbers didn't change. Every dollar, every cent, gone. I checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls. And then I realized I hadn't heard from him in days, not a single word. Panic set in as I dialed his number, straight to voicemail. I tried again and again, until I finally got the message. This number is no longer in service. He had blocked me, stole every penny we had, and vanished like I never existed. I felt the blood drain from my face. My body went numb. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. I rushed to the bank, desperate for answers. The teller clicked away at her computer before looking at me with pity in her eyes. "Ma'am, the account was closed by the primary holder 2 days ago." The primary holder. I had been nothing more than an authorized user on the account. Every paycheck, every dollar I had ever deposited, it was all under his name. And now it was gone. The mortgage? In his name. Credit cards? Under his account. I had nothing. No money, no home, no way to fight back. And worst of all, he didn't even have the decency to tell me. I stumbled out of the bank in a daze. The world around me felt distant, muffled, like I was underwater. My mind raced, trying to process the impossible. How could he do this? After everything. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. For the first time since he left, I allowed myself to break. The sobs came fast, violent, shaking my entire body. He had taken everything from me, or so I thought, because in that moment of despair, a thought crept into my mind, one that refused to be ignored. He may have stolen my past, but he would not control my future. And that was the moment everything changed. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to chase him down. I was going to rise. But first, I had to figure out how. They say revenge is best served cold. But I didn't want revenge. I wanted power. After Daniel drained our accounts and vanished, I had two options: drown in my own misery, or fight like hell to rebuild my life. I chose the latter. It wasn't easy. I started from zero. No money, no backup plan, just the raw determination to prove that I was more than the woman he discarded. I worked tirelessly, pulling together every skill I had ever learned. The boutique I once dreamed of, I made it happen. I built an empire, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. Late nights, early mornings, relentless hustle. It wasn't just about making money. It was about reclaiming my identity, my worth, my power. And then, just when I thought I had finally buried my past, he came back. It was a quiet evening when I saw him again. A knock at my office door. My assistant, confused, peered in. "There's a man here asking for you," she said hesitantly. I knew before I even turned around. Daniel. But this wasn't the same man who left me broken. He looked different, older, weaker. The arrogance in his eyes was replaced with something else: desperation. I leaned back in my chair, studying him as he stepped inside. "Wow," he said, looking around. "You've really made something of yourself." I didn't respond. I let the silence stretch. Let him feel it. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck like he always did when he was nervous. "Listen, I know things ended badly between us." I almost laughed. Badly was an understatement. He cleared his throat. "I made mistakes, okay? I was an idiot. I thought I wanted something different. But she..." His jaw tightened. "She left me." Ah, there it was. His perfect younger woman had thrown him away, just like he had done to me. And now, with no money, no love, and no direction, he had come crawling back to me. I could have lashed out, told him exactly how it felt to be betrayed, abandoned, and left with nothing. But I didn't, because that's not who I was anymore. Instead, I stood, walked over to the window, and gazed out at the skyline, the empire I built from the ashes he left me in. Then, slowly, I turned to face him. "I'm sorry, Daniel," I said, my voice calm, measured. "But I don't rescue lost men." His face fell. "What?" I smiled. "You taught me an important lesson." I leaned in slightly, just enough to watch him squirm. "I don't need you. I never did." The color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, searching for something, anything, to say. But there was nothing left. I had already won. Without another word, I walked past him, signaling for my assistant. "Please show Mr. Daniels out." And just like that, he was gone. This time, forever. And I was finally free. The night Daniel walked out of my life for the second time, I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt peace. For years I lived in his shadow, sacrificing my dreams for his. But when he left me with nothing, I rebuilt my life from the ground up. Stronger, wiser, unstoppable. My business thrived. What started as a boutique became a luxury brand, earning me more success than I ever imagined. But the real victory? Freedom. Waking up without fear. Laughing without pretending. Knowing my worth had never depended on him. Daniel tried reaching out. Emails, letters, even calls I ignored. But I wasn't bitter. I simply moved on. Because true power isn't proving your worth to someone who never saw it. It's knowing you never needed them in the first place. And that was priceless. What do you think? Did he deserve a second chance? Let me know in the comments. If you love this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sweet Revenge Stories for more tales of karma, resilience, and triumph.